All right. So, yeah, how you guys all doing during this quarantine stuff?
Uh, I'm okay. I'm decent. I'm still gotta work though, so yeah,
Same.
same. Yeah, it's it's okay. Just I didn't expect it to last as long as it did, and I feel like down here in the good old states are kind of mishandling a lot of things and changing their minds every 2 seconds about stuff. So like one time they told us mask is not important. A couple of months later, you wear a mask. So a lot of people don't have a lot of trust in what our government is telling us.
Right. How about you guys, Kuma, Kino?
It's been annoying. Lot, a lot of tedious back and forth, but I've just been taking it day by day. Yeah, I'm good though.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been mostly a mental battle on my end. Like just trying not to be too beat up or discouraged, and like trying to stay busy with all the stuff that's going on. Like it's like there's a lot going on, but so many things that I just don't have control over. I just have to sit
Mm.
back and just wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
How's it
It's
been for
really
you?
interesting. It's interesting what you guys said because about the whole thing with the government and you don't know how it's going to play out. Like for myself, I'm still working. Like I work in human services, so I have to work. Like I'm an essential worker,
What
so
service?
what's that?
What service you said you work in?
Human services. So I work with people with
Oh,
disabilities. Um, just support them in their life, and enriching their lives. Um, so with that, for me, it's I'm still living how I normally am. I think with anybody in the world right now, everyone had plans for this year or had some kind of plans. For me, it was moving out and buy myself a condo, but that's not happening because I'm not working as much, so I can't support myself. Um, and I think um, we all had plans of some sort, and but yeah. So sorry, going back to what I was saying, um, with the whole thing about the government, I think the thing about in the states, and this might come off a little biased because I am from Canada, but it appears like the states, like the U.S. government, like you got Trump and his advisors, and you got all these people. And it seems like everyone can't really stay on the same page. Like you have your health officials that are trying to say the right thing, and then you got Trump who's telling you guys to inject yourself with shit, and it's like, what? Like you don't say that shit on camera. Like I'm not surprised, but I was really
yeah.
surprised when he said.
Mm. Man, you weren't the only one. I promise you. People heard and they were like in disbelief. They're like, "You can't be serious, man. You can't be serious." Oh, uh, but I do agree. I think that most of the government just doesn't know how to communicate to each other at this point. Everybody's going their own way.
Well, and I think for sure, and I think not just that, but it's I think since Trump's come in, I think the states has gone worse. Like he's splitting the country apart. The things that he's done, I think has had an impact on the population as well, like splitting people apart and just the way he handles things. He doesn't care. I don't think he cares. Um, I don't think he cares about the American population. It's it's all about him, um, him being
Yeah,
on camera.
it's funny because he has gone on Twitter and saying how his briefings are some of the highest rated TV programming in all time, and it's like you're talking about how your briefings are like they're like people are watching the high numbers. That's what you're bragging about. And a lot of people argue like, first of all, you do too many briefings, they last too long, and most of them are not necessary. So it's totally like a vanity project for him to just go up there and just speak. He doesn't need to speak that much. You don't need that many updates. You're just giving a lot of miscommunication. And to speak to that part about like the governments like just arguing with each other, like all the governors are going back and forth with the president, and they just constantly arguing. First, the president said he blamed the states for not being prepared, and then when it came time to slowly reopen everything, he said, "Well, I decide if we reopen everything." And then all the governors said, "Wait a minute, you told us this is our responsibility, but now you have the right to reopen." So now there's a bunch of back and forth on that. Then on top of that, there's even arguments between the mayors of cities and governors. Georgia, the governor of Georgia said we're going to reopen, and then the mayor of Atlanta, which is in Georgia, said we're not going to reopen. I'm a major city, like you can't have all that here. The same thing happened here in New York with the governor in New York State and the mayor in New York City. And the mayor in New York City said schools are not going to open for the rest of the year. And then like the next day later, the governor said the mayor doesn't have that power or authority to do that. So it's like
it kind of what I'm kind of hearing from you guys is you don't feel like there's really any leadership or direction in your country. It just seems like who are you to listen to, you know?
Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how it feels. Like even now when the elections are coming up, sometimes like certain people are not voting because they want a particular person to win. They're voting because they don't want the other person to win.
Mm.
So it's
But
like,
that's the truth.
Well, so in the last election, who did you guys vote for? I know it was hard, but
the last election I didn't vote.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't. I think I voted for. I think I took part in the local election. I didn't take part in the presidential election. I probably would take part in this one, but the last presidential election I didn't win. I didn't vote.
Mm. I voted. I voted for Hillary because I didn't think Trump would do a good job. Honestly, it was just my whole standpoint on that. And I don't know. I don't know how it went. If it went the other way, hopefully this would have been handled better. But that's about it. That's all I can say.
I voted for Bernie, but then I had no choice but to vote for Hillary because I didn't want Trump in office.
Exactly. It was like, yeah, well, you know, that's the two. Hopefully it works out in the end. But honestly, all I hope like after this is that there's better communication. And like I understand that power is centralized in different places and there's a chain of command type of thing going on. But like that is actually like people believe in it. Right now I don't think people believe it.
Cooper, can you not use the mic?
I don't know.
Like just don't use it.
Yeah, it's really like muffled and
I don't know.
yeah.
Hopefully this is a little bit better.
Yeah, a lot better, man.
How's it up there with you guys? Hey, how you guys feel about your leadership and how you guys are handling the epidemic?
Well, okay, I'll answer kind of two parts of that. So, how we feel about our election. So, it's a little bit different in Canada. I don't know how much you guys know so much about Canada, but in Canada, so we don't necessarily have like obviously you guys have Republicans and Democrats, and then you have like the other parties if they happen to come in at like 1%. But for us, we have a couple different parties in Canada. Normally, either it's going to be the it's sad that I forget our parties. So there's the Conservative, and then there's the Liberal Party, and those are normally the main parties that are going to win. There is the NDP, and those are the main three parties. So there's been a lot of kind of the same thing in the States, not as severe, but there's a lot of different talks about it. It's kind of it's a big joke in Canada as well. So our election is over in like 6 weeks. So they'll do usually about 6 weeks. So they'll have the campaigns running, and they'll have the campaigns, and then it's like 6 weeks. They really start getting into like the voting process. Then you vote, and then by next week, you know who the leader of your country is. Um, and there's been a lot of people that don't like Justin Trudeau. There's a lot of propaganda placed on him, like, oh, he's all about like this and that, and he funds terrorists and stuff like that, which is, I it's all, like, people are gonna write whatever they want. I mean, he's him and the Liberals have done a couple of things that weren't popular. I don't know if you guys ever heard, but there was that guy that he killed an American soldier in Iraq when he was 15, and he was sent to Guantanamo Bay. I think that's where it was, and what happened was, because of he was mistreated and it wasn't right and all that. So the Canadian government not only let him out, but they also paid him like $10 million. And a lot of people were upset about that because they're thinking, you're really going to give that guy $10 million? That's more than necessary. Like, what would be the right thing to do is to let him out and to help him out and like get him back on his feet. And what a lot of people are upset about is, like, you look in Canada and even the States, you see people that are going to prison who might not even do as severe crimes as that guy did. And you see them, and I don't really think they get much help when they get out. They can't get it. They can't get the job that they want because now they have a criminal record. They don't really get that kind of help, but yet you got a convicted terrorist getting $10 million from the government, and that $10 million could go towards helping your own people. Um, and we're a very socialist country, and that's what our kind of country is all about, is helping each other, and especially with the liberals that are the liberals that are running right now. That's kind of like their motto. Like, that's kind of their platform for the country, is they're more of a socialist, or a socialist, or not a socialist, but like they're they like to help out with people and take care of the people. Like, that's their idea. The conservatives are more about cutting back on things, saving money that way, and helping out more big businesses. Um, and But anyway, so I guess how a lot of people felt about the liberals. There was a lot of mixed messages, um, but at the same time, I think with any party, whoever's running, they're going to have unpopular views on them. Like, if you look at, like, if I look at the states, I would have voted for Bernie, um, because he seems the most realistic out of all of them. Um, at least
Really?
the last, at least the last election. Like Hillary, I think she's a filthy liar.
Yeah.
And Trump, I mean, there's no, like, you got to be insane to like the guy. I mean, I know there's a lot of good people that like him, um, but like, it's a no-brainer not to like Trump. Like, he's proven over and over again that he's not there for the people, and he's not a good person. And
What you guys thought when you guys thought when you guys heard that Trump won our election? Were you guys surprised?
Well, when it came on TV, my mom's like, "No, is he really?" And I didn't really know who Trump was at the time. Like, I kind of knew who he was, but I didn't really know that he was like this multimillionaire, and he's has all that, like, he's very mainstream, and I didn't really know who he was. But my mom was like, "Oh no," and my dad's like, "Yeah, yeah,
He had a TV
yeah,
show.
he's running." And I really didn't think that he was going to win. I was like, there's no way this guy's going to win. Like, look at what this guy's saying. He's talking about like Muslims, and he's going on about, we gotta have this Muslim ban. We gotta, he was disrespectful to a lot of people in the States. And I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to win. And he still won. And not to diss you guys, but that kind of just gives you an overall view of how the States really thinks. And to think that there's that many people who thought this guy is such a great guy and he's going to run our country. I think that's just disgusting. And
It was because he talked to a group of people who has never been really talked to before.
well, and that's it. If you look at Nazi Germany with Hitler, and I know this is two different people, but if you look at what he did, he told people what they wanted to hear. He used something to blame their problems on a group of people, and that's kind of what Trump has done. He took the idea that we need to build a wall to protect the states from these sort of people because they bring in all the bad things, which isn't the case. It's not true. I think, if you look at it, any leader that's going to say that, oh, you can't have these immigrants coming into your country because they're just bad and they're just bringing the worst. Well, you probably should think about people that are already living in your country who can't follow the rules and who aren't good people. So I think, yeah, it's when I heard about Trump going in, I really didn't think he was going to win, but he won, and I don't know. I mean, your next election coming up, I don't think you have
Yeah,
much of a choice.
it's gonna be interesting because people don't really know him because it's between Joe Biden and Trump. A lot of people are like, a lot of people don't. We'll see. We just have to we just have to see because we're not really sure. Joe Biden doesn't look the best out here neither. Every time
No.
this man speaks, he just says something like, come on, my guy, we just want you to just say the right thing. Not even say the right thing, just don't say the wrong thing. And he will always just put his foot in his mouth. And it's like, oh my God.
Yo, it's like he's sabotaging himself. I don't get it. Like, he doesn't have to talk as much as he does.
It's like he's just digging a deeper hole for himself, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. Like, to me, I feel like the more he talks, the more he makes like Obama look bad because like that's who he had as his side. Like,
yeah.
Honestly, if we could just have Obama move to Canada and he could be our prime minister, I'd vote for him in a heartbeat.
oh man,
Like, I loved Obama.
I'd definitely come to Canada.
It's funny because Obama, he couldn't even do half the things he wanted to do because like, but when he did his 8 years, the House and the House and the Senate was all filled with Republicans, and they would just say no to all his bills just because like we didn't like you. So they turned down all his bills. So like the guy barely could do half the things he wanted to do. Yeah, but it's funny because like when Trump came into office, like half the things he did was like just undo a bunch of Obama stuff, and one of the things he got rid of was like a pandemic team that specifically to handle any like national epidemics, and then we was like, well, maybe that would have been nice if you kept that at least.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh
no, he's not fit to run the country. It's not just about him being fit to run the country, but he's not there for the people. And I think you guys need a president who is gonna be there for the people, not themselves, not the people that are not the fat cats in the towers or the people in working in the government. Like, you need to have a president. Like, I get it, the government works a certain way. There's a game that they got to play, and there's certain things that they do because they have to. But
I feel like the government never thinks about the small people.
Well, and the thing is, like, and I get it, they have to help. They have to try to find a way to balance everything and help everyone out. But you need a president that's gonna work for the people, do it for the people, not for themselves. And right now, that's not. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, when it comes to the government, it's like the closer you are to the top, the more you look at people at the majority of people as just like numbers. Like, you don't see people that with lives that you're there to lead and help in situations like this. You're just looking at numbers and statistics. So and it definitely plays out when you have someone like Trump who he's a business mind. Like, that's his whole thing. Like, I'm not gonna say he's a genius with that, but he deals primarily with business, and for him to go from business to leading a country is just not gonna pan out. the same, like the way that people would want it to.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I think like it's not just him serving the country. I think also it's just him, like how he's treating things with other countries, like like I don't know how a president of the United States could go and say, yeah, me and Kim Jong Un are best friends. It's like, are you fucking crazy? Like,
No, I have a question. How do like people in Canada feel about like Americans saying like American, even though that's the continent?
sorry,
I always wonder,
can you say
like
that again?
like say we say we're Americans, but isn't like the whole continent is like North America? So everybody in America,
Oh,
yeah, just something I always wonder, like yeah, something that nobody ever thinks about is just like, well, why do they call themselves Americans? We're all Americans.
um, I haven't really had anybody really
I
have
always
anything to
wondered.
say about that. Um, I mean, if you look through history, I mean, you got to think like as me having or like our land having like that connection with the British Empire. If you look through history, I mean, we tried to control the American colonies back in the 1700s. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really. It doesn't really bother me per se. I don't know. I never really had really opinion about that, I guess.
Because I was wondering that, like, well, why are we not called like United Statian?
I'm sorry.
I said, why we never call like United Station, like something like that. Well, I just rambling. I'm sorry.
I don't know. But there's definitely, if you want to ask me about more like what Canada thinks of the states and
Yeah,
our opinions about it, I think I really like. I guess for myself, I think that I was kind of mentioning it before. I think the United States has a huge divide among people. I think, and with Trump, he's not really helping this situation. But I think that there's a lot of sectors in the states. You have a lot of people they're not connected as one because with everything that's kind of going on, it seems like that's Trump's kind of dividing the people in the states, and he's dividing these people, and these people, and is attacking a certain group of people. I think. I don't know. That's just how I kind of see it. But how do you guys
yeah.
feel about it?
I think it's like
No,
whatever he needs to say for the moment, he paints whatever, I guess, group of people he can as the enemy for that topic. And that's that's his pitch for the people that he's talking to. Like one thing I can always say about Trump, he knows the people he's talking to. He knows how to talk.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
So
and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's too bad, and I really hope that you guys do have a leader soon. That, well, even if it's Biden, hopefully he does a little bit better of a job. And um, I don't know. Like,
it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard to do a slightly better of a job.
Yo,
well, it's
oh
pretty.
man,
Yeah.
I sense the pity. I sense the pity.
well, I think a lot of people here in Canada would like to change our leader as well. Um,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of people that are liking the things how our government's run right now. Like I said,
It's
there's
one
a
of
lot of
those things.
propaganda put on our government for sure. Like, the latest, if you want to get into conspiracy theories, I don't know what's going on around with the states, but a lot of conspiracy theories around here locally is like, oh, the government's using this coronavirus to take control of the people, and it's going to be a third
Yeah,
new world order. I'm like, come on, and
we
it's
hear
like,
that too.
you guys are freaking crazy, and
We
um,
hear a lot population control.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another one I heard. Yeah.
Is population control. I don't know. I just think I don't know. I just think a lot of world leaders just slept on it and didn't handle it according to it. Then it spread, and then it's like it's too late to do anything. And then they didn't handle a lot of places didn't handle testing correctly. I just think a lot of governments just dropped the ball overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Have you guys watched that video? It's called Plandemic. It's kind of like a documentary movie. It went viral a couple weeks ago, and it was this. There's about this guy who interviews this woman. She's like a biologist, and she talks about how everything was connected. The virus was made in a lab, and and she doesn't know if it was intentional or not intentional, but it somehow leaked. And like the story that the news is giving, that this virus came from a wet market and or like a live animal market. That's not the story. And how do you guys feel about that?
I didn't see that documentary, but I did like hear some whispers here and there, like surfing the web about it, and it fell in line with a lot of the other theories that like I would hear people talk about, like, well, this was a lab, and it wasn't there like Chinese journalists who were researching it. If they said anything, it vanished. Like, what about this and that? And I'm like, it ties things together well from what I heard. That's all I can say. I'm like, be interesting. What about you guys? You guys heard anything?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hear your mic, man. It's all
Yo, Kumo,
it's
what
all
the
like
hell,
muffled
man?
again.
I
I
can't.
thought it was just me for a second.
Yo,
Oh,
I thought
I'm
it was
waiting
my
for y'all to
service.
say something. I don't want to be the bad guy, but yo, I ain't hear shit. So I don't know what you just said.
Are we
Yo,
just all being nice here?
Yeah, I thought it was my internet. I thought I was like, wow, my internet's
Okay.
lagging.
Let me.
Me
let
too.
me
That's
just
why I'm
say
like,
my
all right, so
I'll
they
just make it.
understand it? Like,
Hey, Kino, answer the question. Kino, answer the question.
Here, yeah. I can't.
but no,
Kino, answer the question.
nah, I didn't see
Kino
the.
always brings us up.
Listen, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist. Like I keep up like up to tabs on like all the different stories and possibilities as to what is actually going on.
Mhm.
And while I didn't see the documentary, it sounds dope. I would like to see it. I didn't see the documentary,
I'm gonna.
but yeah, I heard.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there. I'm gonna send it to you guys. So I'll send it through
Yeah.
your podcast Instagram thing. I'll send it through the DM, and you guys can take a look. It's I'm not I'm not saying I'm believing everything in it, but it's definitely an eye opener, and it is kind of interesting to kind of see what's going on. But anyway, sorry, Kino, keep going.
I just find it interesting that there's so many different stories and like they all made headlines to an extent. Like the first one that was most popular that was made fun was the fact that it did come from a wet market. People in Asia they eat like various different animals that a lot of people avoid. But like in particular it was a bat soup, some type of soup with
I
they have
don't
the
know.
whole bat in
If
there.
you never tried bat soup, I wouldn't. Don't. It's pretty good.
Hey
You
man,
should try it.
I don't know.
It's pretty good.
Man.
I'm gonna send you a
listen, like,
recipe.
Oh
it's
man,
crazy.
I don't know. Like I don't think I could do the bat soup. Have you guys ever watched those videos? Usually they're thrown on Facebook, but it's like these. I don't know where they're from, but like it'll be like they look somewhat like they're Asians and they're eating like live like worms and
Oh my gosh,
oh my
yes,
god, you
those
just
go
want to
viral
I
so
never watched
quick.
those.
Yeah.
I never watched those.
There's so many of them. Like the last one I watched is this girl. She looked mad young, but this girl was eating like a live octopus, and I'm like, yo, you know you
Oh
can choke
no.
from that, right? Like, what are you doing?
yeah like I mean, hey, I know every country's different, but you got to be insane to eat live food like that. Like that you just I don't know, man. I just think that like I've seen. Oh, and you were talking about the octopus one. So there's another girl who she I think she took a turtle and it bit its whole head off and ate it, like the whole head.
Oh
Oh,
damn.
I think I saw that one. I saw that one.
And you can hear like the
Man,
crunch,
Ozzy did it too.
and it's like,
Ozzy did it too.
oh
Nobody talks
man,
about Ozzy.
It didn't look like it was cleaned either. It just looked like a whole turtle. It didn't even look like it boiled properly. Like,
just looked like she picked it off the side of the road and said, "Hey, dinner."
yeah, just splash some water on it, put it in a bowl with some seasoning, and just start eating.
It probably tasted good. You don't know. It's
Listen,
probably a 5-star meal.
it's not the fact that the turtle was eaten. It's the fact of like how it was eaten. That's more so
how?
my. Yeah, it was eaten with like it was still in the shell. It looked like it was still alive. It looked
Do
a
you guys
little
eat
dirty.
seafood? Yes, I'm never a fan of seafood.
You gotta put some garnishing on that turtle and make it 5-star. Get some chill forks.
I did not
And
see this
I
movie.
enjoy seafood, but I usually stay away from it.
You know what? I never really been a big fan of seafood. Like I like fish. Don't get me wrong. I like going fishing and catching your own fish and cooking that same night. Um, yeah, I never really been a big seafood person. Fish, I'm good. Shrimp, like if you're having like a party and someone brings shrimp and you just dip it and that's fine. But no, I'm not really a big seafood person.
Like, no, why are shrimp so popular? Because like, shrimps are technically like the cockroaches of the sea. Like, no you ever thought about that? That's what they literally are. They just in the floor in the bottom, just crawling, eating whatever is on the bottom.
But it
Whatever
tastes so
be.
good, bodega. It tastes so damn good.
Hey, bodega! If you don't like the shrimp, you can always eat a live turtle. So.
I might try it out. It might
Hey,
taste
man.
better.
I heard it tastes like chicken.
Everything tastes like chicken.
Man.
I have a question for you. When did you start your podcast?
When did I start my podcast?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question because I've talked about that on one of my podcasts, I believe. I touched on it. So, so I've had the Instagram for only a short period of time. But I've had the podcast for the last couple of years. So the whole story behind that. So I started this podcast. Okay, so I'll actually start from the beginning. I'm having like some origin story here. So,
Hey.
so it started off with a buddy of mine. We both had this thing. We're like, hey, let's just go on a mic. Let's talk about some shit, and maybe let's entertain people. And it got to the point. His name's Elijah. So me and this guy, we got together sometimes, but it got to the point where we had different work schedules, and he was busy, and so that didn't work out. And so he kind of stopped. We stopped doing it, and we cut the whole podcast. We chopped it, and that was it. And then I started a podcast, and it was called Kel Walker Podcast, and like that was all right for a bit. And then I changed the name because I'm like, that just sounds really weird. And so I changed it to Empire Universe. And don't ask me how I came up with that. It just, I don't know, one of those days. It was just this afternoon, and you're just thinking about crazy shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to call it Empire Universe. And I had a lot of people ask me, like, how'd you come up with that? I said, I don't know. I was watching Star Wars, and that name.
I knew it.
Yo,
It came up, and I was like Empire, and I just put universe, like the universe, like the ideas that I'm going to talk about. And
you're the Sith.
Sorry,
Sith Lord. You're the Sith Lord.
Yeah, hell yeah, I am.
Oh.
Slay anybody that comes in my path. But no. But seriously though, so so then I changed the name, and I done podcasts on my own for a while, but they weren't really anything serious. I was kind of just screwing around, and I had some people on, and but I didn't really take it seriously. And then just this year, I really started taking it seriously and really like putting the work into it, the editing, and the really getting my coverage, like getting my name out there. And then and then when the quarantine thing really started coming around, I was like, well, I'm not working as much, and I was like, well, I might as well, and then it would be easier to get people on because I'm doing a lot of my podcast, mainly doing my podcast on Zoom or Skype or whatever. So it just, from there, I just kept doing more and more, and it just kind of worked out that way. So what's like, how do you guys start doing your podcasts? Or better yet, I got two parts of the question. So when did you start it, and what made you guys decide to start a podcast?
I guess I should start first. Originally I started the podcast, I think it was like 2018. I was gonna start the podcast, and I went through like a bunch of co-hosts I was going to do the podcast with, and I think I planned it out. It was with this girl. She used to be a coworker of mine, and I had a friend who's going to like do the audio and engineer it, and then we did a test on everything, and then I texted her so we could meet up at my place to record at my friend's house. My friend didn't reply. The girl didn't reply to me no more. So I was just pretty much by myself. I did the first episode just me talking into a mic. And then the second episode, I was just like bored. I randomly called up a Kino. I said, yo, you want to record this episode with me? He said, yeah, sure, why not? And then he came, and then I think we was drinking, and we had a lot of fun. Then we recorded the second episode. But Kino was just helping me out because like he was originally he was just there temporary until I could find like a permanent co-host, a permanent group of people, and then I think he was around for like until episode 30. Then after episode 30, I found like a whole group of people. But then like 10 episodes later, they just all left me. So I was like, Kino, just come. And then I thought, you know what? I think I told Kuma to come in because all of us are friends and we all have good chemistry. So I would think we would all be all funny together. We would make people laugh. So why not? That's pretty much it.
That's your story.
Yeah, like on my end, like I had no real interest in being on a podcast. Like I just wanted to try it out because like shit, I was like I never see this dude Bodega. Like always busy with our schedules and rarely ever talk to Kuma in person. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. Like I was mainly doing it because it was a reason to link up, have good conversations, and chill with each other and whatnot. And it turned into much more than that. Like, cause initially I was afraid of the commitment because like meeting up weekly to record, I thought that was like a huge step for like just committing to the podcast. But I got over it. It's been working, and like I said, like it's fun. Like that's what I mainly care about. If it's fun, we want to do it, and that's that.
Agree with that. I agree with that.
I just found it funny though, because like the whole podcast thing has me talking a lot more than I usually do. Because I'm usually very quiet. Like I'm usually the quiet one when I'm outside. So I just find it funny.
Well, like, how do you guys have you guys always been friends, or how does this how do you guys get to know each other?
College.
College, yeah.
College?
Freshman year.
About a freshman year. There you go.
Where'd you guys go to college?
NYG.
New York Institute. There you go.
New York Institute of Technology.
Oh, okay.
Columbus Circle, right across the street from the Trump building.
Really?
Yeah, best spot.
You guys should have egged the place on your way to the college.
I've definitely thought about it, but it's too close to the school.
Too close. And then there was like the protesters outside this building once, and I was just like, wow, I'm a part of this by association.
Oh man, that's definitely how it is.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I gotta ask you guys. I hope you guys don't mind, but so obviously you guys heard about that thing that happened in Minneapolis. Yeah, I can't even say Minneapolis. And how do you guys view that?
I feel like that's the worst video I've seen thus far.
Oh.
Like I feel like that's worse than the Eric Garner video of him getting like strangled by like 3 to 4 different cops, and like he passed away from like not being able to breathe. And it's just crazy because like this one had a cop that like he was doing it intentionally. Like he even looked at the camera while he was doing it, and he had no reason to be handling him that way. And to add salt to everything that was going on, like other cops were there just like guarding the situation. They weren't helping. They weren't trying to set an example. They were just letting it happen. So
yeah,
it's just terrible.
Well, and the thing is, like, as much as like I live in Canada, we get a lot of American news. Like we're very influenced by the American news, and I think there has to be some kind of border between, do we look at it and be like, this is just all these white cops and they're just out to get all these like they're out to get all the African Americans and they're just they hate on everyone, or do we look at it as like, no, there's just some asshole cops out there that are just assholes. And the reason, and I'll elaborate on that. So like, hold on, I guess I think Bodega is trying to rejoin here. So, anyways, as I was saying, so like here in Canada, we don't seem to have that kind of things that happen, and it's unfortunate. It's I think the problem is that there isn't enough of a relationship. There's not the understanding between the police the and the people, and it's unfortunate because it's not like a cop just made a mistake. It's Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So it's not, I don't think it's so much like there has been times where cops aren't perfect. I think nobody's perfect in life. We all make mistakes, and I think there's times where there's cops that do make mistakes. But there's a difference between making a mistake where whether someone tries to hurt you and it's a trigger, you got a trigger finger and you accidentally shoot someone. Accidents happen. Not that it makes it okay, but when you see someone intentionally putting their knee on someone's neck, that's not just oh whoops, I didn't know that was going to happen, or they have their knee on their back and they the guy's just freaking out and it could be on drugs or whatever. No, it was, he intentionally killed a guy. And what makes me more upset is that there's no real, okay, so the guy's got fired, but that's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, like there shouldn't be any controversy around that. Like, should have been fired, should have been charged right on the spot. Like, if for example, if I were to do that to just some random person, I wouldn't just be fired from my job. I would be arrested just like that. There wouldn't be any like waiting about it. I would have been arrested, would have been held in custody. There'd be no question about it. And I mean, of course, if you get bail, if you go out on bail, but like besides that, like it's just I think that in the States and in Canada as well, because I'll get to that in a second. In the States, there has to be some kind of change where enough is enough. When a police officer breaks the law, there's no they go off on pay. Like, I mean, I get that they have a union, but when an officer breaks the law or an officer kills another person and it's clear that they did it, everyone needs to be on board. We need to look at it and say, these police officers are people like you and me, like you guys and me, who need to be treated exactly the same. Because not only it's not just part of what's fair, it's a part of setting an example. Because if all these police officers are doing these things and getting away with it, what message does that send the other asshole cops? That just says, okay. Oh, that's okay, I'm going to get away with it. And
I think that's the point where we are right now. Like, that's why it keeps happening, because this keeps happening over and over with very little to no repercussions for like the loss of lives.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why, like, that's exactly why you're seeing people rioting and people are upset, because the people in the United States are sick of this shit, and they're sick of the same things that are going on where people are the cops are getting away with it, and it's unfortunate. Now getting to my second part. Sorry. getting to my second
I was
part.
gonna say.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think what you said was really good about the example being set. And as much as like we would want one where they face justice, quote unquote, I feel like the point of that being met isn't anything I think the law would do. I think the example is that the cop takes somebody's life and it's okay. Like that is clearly what they've been running with as well.
The scarier part for me isn't the fact that it happened. It's the fact that people think it's okay, and that it's okay to even like make jokes about it, even though it just happened, and show, oh look, like I'm doing the same thing, and this person's not dead. Like it's just disrespectful, and it's like we're being taunted as a people, you know.
Being taunted and being disrespected, like it's more than hey, it just happened. You're making a joke out of it. It's like it's just happened. Nobody's actually looking at it as like, hey, this keeps going on with no changes. You got to fight for them to lose their job, and like you said, people are tired of it. The riot happens and like, but the riot is like the face and the fact that this person died. I'm like, it's not. It's like it's past pent up at this point.
Because think about it, if that woman never pulled her phone out and recorded it, it would have just happened and been brushed out under the rug like nothing.
Yeah, this guy would have just been gone, erased, and life would have went on. And it's just, it's and that's kind of going back to the whole idea with Trump in the States. You need a leader to take a stand and say, listen, no, that's not okay. That's what we need to do is make sure everybody sees the same justice as the cops need to see the same justice as anybody else, because at the end of the day, yeah, their job, they have a gun and they have a badge, but that doesn't mean that just because they're arresting people doesn't mean that you kill someone and you can just get away with it. Like there has to be some kind of change, and right now with the leader that you have, I don't see it happening. Like I think there'll be some kind of, they'll talk about it and be like, well, we need to make some change and we're working on it, and then a couple months later nothing happens, and then a couple months later after that the same situation happens. It reminds me of kind of like the shootings in the States, like the shootings, how some gunman will go on a rampage in a school or anywhere, and they'll talk about it and say, well, what's the idea? Do we have gun control? What do we do about it? And they'll talk about it, and a month will go by, and another month will go by, and then it happens again, and they keep bringing the same shit up, and it's repetitive. Yeah,
as you bring that up, was there a shooting recently in Canada, and like immediately like there was a ban on a type of assault rifle?
Yes. So it was
like, we need that.
Well, the thing is, and two parts of that. So yes, it was in Nova Scotia. Some guy, I think he impersonated as a cop, and he was shooting at people. And another part to that is, yeah. So we did have a gun ban on assault rifles. Second part to that is, I don't think that will happen in the States, because unfortunately you have a lot of people who live in the States who feel they deserve to have this and have that, and I deserve. Oh, that's my Second Amendment. I think it's the Second Amendment. That's my Second Amendment to carry firearms. Well, unfortunately, yeah, there are some responsible people who are hunters or who need weapons to defend their home. I mean, I heard that's a pretty common thing in the States, is like home invasions. So yeah, you need something to protect yourself, but no one needs an assault rifle. No one truly needs an assault rifle unless to defend themselves in their home. Like if they haven't locked in their home to protect themselves, I understand that.
Yeah, nobody needs a semi-automatic weapon.
But besides that, there's no need to have a handgun. There's no need for it. They're not meant to shoot deer. They're not meant to take a bear down. They're meant to kill other people.
Yeah. So a lot of these weapons are war weapons. That's what I don't understand. Like how people could just casually just have it just out. going for a walk.
Well, and that's it. That's what's more scary, because it's not so much about people carrying it around. It's the people that, in the heat of the moment, what if someone's having a bad day, someone flips the bird or says something, shoots a shit across the street, they don't like what they hear, they pull out their gun, they shoot them, and that's just another statistic of a shooting in the States. And that's kind of the problem. And people say, oh, it's not the gun that's the problem, it's the people. Well, yes and no. Like, I guess yes, if there were people that had mental issues or had some mental breakdown, yeah, if they want to go and kill a bunch of people and there wasn't guns around available, they would find other means to do it. But the gun is just such an easy access. So part of, I feel, yeah, the states needs a gun control, but that's up to the government, and it's not going to happen because the firearm companies, they want to make money.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't care. Trump doesn't care about anything in the States, unfortunately. So, and believe me, going back to the whole thing about the cops, it does happen in Canada as well. Right in my hometown. I didn't tell you guys where I'm from. So you guys told me that you're all from New York, right?
Yeah, New
Yeah.
York City.
Okay. So where I'm from Chatham, Ontario, Canada. So Ontario is kind of like, Chatham, Ontario is, okay, so you guys know where Detroit is, right?
Yeah, you guys are like right on top,
So
right?
yeah, so Detroit's here, and then you have the border here, and then it would be Windsor's right here on the other side of that border of Detroit in Michigan, and then here's Windsor, here's Chatham. So I'm literally 45 minutes away from the States. I'm not very far from Michigan, and in Canada, there's been, or in my hometown, there's been many cases of police brutality. Now, I don't know so much about killing, but there has been cases like the last 3 or 4 weeks. We just had 2 officers that are charged. One for beating his wife, and he's currently charged, but out on he's dismissed with pay right now, of course. And then there's another woman, female cop, who is convicted, or she's charged with possible fraud. But even besides that, we've had cases where we have like a jail here in Chatham, like just a holding cell, and we had a cop who, the guy just wouldn't shut up, so the cop pulled out his taser and tased him to shut him up.
Oh,
And
shit.
it's like, we get that. Like, yeah, you don't want to have to listen to that, but that's part of your job.
Yeah.
That's just part of having resilience. And, a guy is got to yell and carry on. There's other means to keep him quiet. And, to just pull your taser and shoot him, like, what's wrong with you? And we've had other cops, like, where they've choked someone out. We've, like, I think it's the same in the States. There's a lot of the same views on police in the States as there is here in Canada. Especially in Chatham, there's a lot of people that don't like the way police here are like here in Chatham. Like, where I'm from, crime's not a huge thing, to be honest with you. Like, yes and no. So there isn't so much like killings or major crime in Chatham, but we have a lot of problems with drugs, which is a problem everywhere. But like here in Chatham, a lot of people feel like we're very over policed, because like I can tell you, there's been times where I remember last year in March, they had this thing where they were just roadside like safety. And I couldn't tell you how many people I saw in one day get pulled over by a cop, and they're giving tickets to everybody. And people are kind of mentioning, like, well, they got to make their quota for the end of the month,
Yeah.
And it's I think, unfortunately, I think that's how police are always going to be. But
Is it like a small town?
yeah.
Or is it
So
like
Chatham. Okay. So with Chatham, okay, where I live, here's Chatham right here.
Mhm.
And then you have Chatham, Kent, which makes up a broad area. So, like, think about New York, okay? So you guys live in New York. You have
Mhm.
New York City. You have all the like the
boroughs?
boroughs in New
Yeah.
York, right? And you have like Buffalo over here by the border. So Chatham is like that, except obviously like way smaller. So I live in Chatham. You have Chatham, Kent, where you have Dresden. You would have like Tilbury, Thamesville, all these little tiny towns that make up Chatham, Kent with Chatham.
Okay.
So Chatham, Kent is fairly big, but it's but Chatham itself is not, humongous by any means, but it's bigger than all the other small towns. Um, so yeah, if that makes any sense.
No, yeah, no, it makes sense. I get it. Have you had any personal experience with the cops on your?
Not really any problems per se. Um, I'm trying to think. Like, I've been pulled over many times. Like, I got pulled over by this one cop. He was being a dick. So what happened was I was driving back. There's this place. It's called Rondo Beach. So it's just a beach you go during the summer. And I was driving back. So on the road, they had it so you're going 80 kilometers per hour. So in Canada, it's kilometers, not miles, and you're going 80 kilometers an hour, which is probably like, I would say, I'm not sure what the conversion is to miles, but anyway, so it was you're going 80, and then like within I think 6 or 7 seconds you have that much time to switch back to 50. And I remember I was going down the road and I see the 50, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start going. I'm gonna stop really hard because it's such a quick transition, and nobody's gonna really transition to 50 that quick.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic. So I think I got stopped at, I think, 59. Okay, and a cop pulls me over. He says, "Hey, you're speeding, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can see you just pulled over like 40 other people." He's like, "Hey, you can watch the mouth too, eh?" I'm like, but I'm just trying to be real with you. And so he asked for my license and registration, and so he comes back. He's like, well, listen, so you need to watch your speed. I'm like, okay. I said, but how can I mean, like, how fast can I get to 50? I was like, and literally I was going 59. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
He's like, you're fucking lucky I'm not charging you, or I'm not giving you a fine. I'm like, no, you're right, I am lucky. And I'm trying to be, as nice to him as I can. And he says, here, and he just literally whips me um my insurance, and or like my registration and my license. And I'm like, wow, what a fucking asshole. Like, he started walking away. I'm like, wow, what a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And he comes back. He's like, you got anything else to say, or I can have you get out of your car too? And I'm like, no, that's
Oh.
okay, because you have no right to do that because I called you a name. Come on. I'm like, grow up. And he walked away. But like, says things like that. That's probably the closest encounter I've had with a cop. And it's like, for me, like, that's the kind of attitude a lot of people have been getting with cops here that I've heard of. Like, you can't say that all the cops here in Chatham are bad. No, that's not the case. You have some that are probably either, and it could just be a case he was having a bad day. But most cops I've encountered have been very professional. They're very compliant. Like, I had one cop. I was speeding, and I had a cop who was very, just straightforward. Like, okay, well, just slow down. You're going a little fast back there. He's like, have a great night. No problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
It was,
yeah. I never really
I
had any
remember,
problems. Have you guys have any issues in the state?
it was never really an issue. I remember I was young. I think I was with a friend, and we were both in I think a middle school at the time, and we were walking up. I remember we were walking up the block, and it was nighttime. I think it was like maybe like 8 o'clock in the fall time, so it was pitch black outside, and then this was like this cop cruiser just tailing us for like a good like a good like minute, 2 minutes straight, just following us. Tailing us like right next to each other for all 2 minutes and whatever, and then finally the cruiser just went. He just finally left. my friend turned over to me and said, "Oh, he was following us because he thought you was a dealer and I was spying from you." And then there was this
What?
one time too. I remember I was walking across the block and a cop pulled over. He went over to me, like, "What's your name?" I was like, so I said my actual name, and he went like, and then he went like, "Where you live?" I'm like, "I live over there." You should. No, I'm just asking. We're looking for somebody, and you look like him. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, okay. So you sure you live over there?" I'm like, "Yes, I do, officer." Like, all right, okay. He just left, and that officer just left. And I was like, "Oh, that's awkward." Could have, yeah. Those two moments always stuck in my head as moments. Yeah, it just always stuck in my. I don't go out much, but yeah, it was just weird because it was. I remember he was tailing us for the first story. He was tailing us because it's like the block was not that long of a block. Actually, no, it was quite a long block. But the fact that he followed us for pretty much majority of it, and we're walking, he's in a car, so it's very noticeable that he's just tailing us like right next to each other as we're walking up. It was like I remember when he finally left, I said to him, "Yo, what was that all about?" And the fact that he tailed us for that long, and we're like a bunch of middle schoolers, was like, gosh, it's just another day, man. Just another day. It was just another day. I was like, oh wow, yeah. Those are all my experiences. You guys?
Mm.
I got picked up by truancy once,
Oh,
but that's very small. Like it's nothing crazy. Like I was walking with one of my friends to high school, but we were late. We're like really late because we were doing something for someone's birthday, and the cops saw us and they wouldn't let us keep walking to school. They pretty much forced us to get in the van, and they drove us to school. It wasn't that bad, but getting forced to get in a police vehicle was like very different. Like because we did not need to get in at all.
Right.
See that almost happened to me once, but I was like, I'm like 2 blocks away, like I can make it. And he just looked at me for like a good minute. I'd be like, "Have a good day," and just walk. That was
I
back
feel
in
like
like
he was looking
high
at you
school
like,
too.
do I want to do I want to
Yeah,
deal with him right now?
like I've had small interactions, like the tailing story that you said, Bodega. Like that's happened, but I'm just like, I'm not doing anything. Eventually, they're gonna turn some way.
But it's
But
still awkward as all
it's
hell.
past awkward, man. Like there's like a
It's like
precinct that's not too far from me. Every time I walk over there, it's like, ooh, ooh. Everybody just goes from like 1 block over. They were chilling and relaxed. This one, everybody walking, looking over their shoulder, like, yeah, I'm just trying to get home, man. I'm like, damn, I hate it over here.
It's
But
like whenever I see cops, I always feel guilty, even though I know I didn't do anything. I just feel like yo, I'm guilty. They're coming after me. I gotta get away from them or be as nice as possible. And it's crazy because like that's like the worst mentality to have. Like it doesn't help with your mental or your anxiety.
Well,
And I used to be in this program called or DSY, like Development
no,
School for Youth, and they
yeah,
had a workshop, cops and kids. And there's one cop, I'll never forget that moment. He said that it's hard as a cop sometimes because they look at the criminality of things. Like they see everyone as a criminal before they can think, oh, this person's innocent. Like so mentally, like I got into his head a little bit, and I got to understand like why a lot of like incidents happen because you're looking at everyone like a criminal. It's like, yo, not everyone's a criminal. Like this person is innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel that way about things, like especially when I'm driving. Like I'm not, like obviously I'm not doing anything, but I do feel guilty, like almost like if they could pull me over, like, oh shit, am I gonna speed or am I gonna do
yeah.
something wrong? Like I'm under the pressure, and but I don't know, like other than that one incident that I got pulled over, I had a cop that so I was going out with some girl when I was younger, and she lived on a certain part of town that wasn't like the best, but it wasn't the worst. And I was driving home from her house at like 1:30 in the morning. So of course, like, obviously I'm already being suspicious driving from that certain part of town. And and driving home at that time of the night. And I was driving home, and I took the back way just because it's much easier to drive through the town and have to go through all the stoplights and like the headlights or not headlights, but the stoplights. And so I was driving back home, and I had a cop that followed me the entire way home, not just halfway, like he just happened to go out. He followed me the whole way home. I parked on the street because obviously I can't get the other car in our driveway living with my parents. And he goes up behind me, and I pull up my head out, and I get out my car, and I look at him. I'm like, what are you doing following me home? He's like, oh, just making sure, and then just drives off. I'm like, okay.
That's weird. That's uncomfortable.
But it is what it is. But yeah, so like I just kind of have one more question for you guys because we're coming up on time. I got another podcast coming soon. So you guys, I've seen that you guys have had guests on and stuff like that. Has it just been? I've seen that you've had a couple like musicians on, or like artists.
Yeah. So you want to know like how we pick the guests or how?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
There's not really a rhyme or reason. It's like, hey, you want to be in a pocket? Yeah, sure, why not? And they just come on. We're trying to after like this whole Corona stuff is over and it's more easier for us to like meet up in person. Cause right now me and Kuma, because we live closer to each other, we meet up and then Aquino calls in after the shutdown and everything happens, and we're gonna go on this huge like run of having like guests. We're gonna try to have artists, but get as much people to be on the podcast. We'll bring some spice to the podcast.
Right on.
How do you pick and find your guests?
How do I pick my guests?
Yeah, like how do you pick them / find them?
Well, like kind of how I found you guys. So I just happen to, go on Instagram and if people are following me, I'll kind of check them out and see what they're all about. And I thought you guys are pretty interesting. You guys are actually pretty funny. I think I commented the other day about when you guys are talking about the one episode coming out, and you like, I think it was you, Bodega, where you're like 56, and the way you said it, just like, oh my god, that was so funny. Not that I'm making fun of you by any means, but it was pretty funny the way you did it. And you're like 56, and I'm like, oh my god. And I think you guys are pretty funny, so I was like, oh, I hope I can do a podcast with these guys. So yeah, that's and also being that you guys are from the States, I've always been interested to kind of hear American citizens' views on the economy and how the country works, and because all we hear is what we see on TV, right?
Yeah.
And my grandmother, she was born in Chicago, so she's obviously American, like she's half American, and but her brother lives in Denver, so he'll come down, he'll talk about things that go on in the States, but it's we don't see him much, so it's kind of nice to get a perspective of kind of what goes on in the States, and like that's part of
it's all fucked up down here. It's all fucked up down here.
Yeah. I hear that. Copy that.
That's pretty much it. It's pretty much like, it's just pretty much fucked up. It's like there's no better words to describe it. Like, our president is a clown. Governments don't really like each other. People don't trust the president. We don't trust the cops. Minorities don't feel comfortable. Like, you walk around, it's like everybody's like,
yo, we're screwed. We're screwed.
Well, I just hope that things change in the States for you guys and for everyone. And
listen, I hear you, bro, but how do I become a Canadian citizen?
How you become a Canadian citizen? We'll just knock on Trudeau's door and be like, "Hey, buddy, can I come in?"
Yeah,
he's just letting anybody in, apparently.
I'm about to come visit and just never leave.
Well,
It's
you know what
overstayed.
though? If you really want to, I mean, I'll tell you, like, I'll give you guys this. I wouldn't move to the States just because of what's going on. But I gotta say, when I come to the States to get groceries, you guys have such a wide selection of food. Like, so, and if you want to talk about food, like talking about like chips, for example. So, like, or cereal. Cereal's a big thing in the States too. Like, you guys have so much different stuff there.
We have a whole aisle of just cereal.
Yeah,
I think that's
literally.
pretty stupid to be
Like,
honest, but hey, perspective.
What? Nah.
but besides that stuff, I think you guys would love in Canada. Canada's especially where I live, it's you know, it's just everything's, you know, like we have free healthcare, um you
I
know,
have
with
no
things
healthcare right
like,
now. I gotta resolve that.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I said I got no healthcare right now. I gotta resolve that.
Well, you come to Canada and we have free healthcare. I mean, of course, like it works. It works in a sense, like your taxes come and pay for that in a way. Um, and
You guys have like, it's like your taxes are they like crazy? Do you feel like, oh, is it like a big chunk of a portion of how much you get paid? Because we always here in the States, we always feel like, well, especially in New York City, we feel like wow, like we get paid like 1,000, and you might see like 700,
yeah,
sometimes 600.
yeah, no, it's definitely like that here too. So we get tax on tax, and that's kind of where our
What?
free healthcare.
You get
So
tax
yeah,
on tax?
yeah, so it's kind of like tax on tax. It's our HST, I think that's what it's called. It's I think our tax percent right now is 13%, and that's why we typically, like, when I go on vacation with my family, we like to shop in the States because everything's so much cheaper there, and we don't have to pay like any duty on it. So we really like going to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. We really like it there, like right in the Smoky Mountains. We really enjoy going there, and we tend to like to shop there because everything's so cheap. Just because it's, you know, you guys aren't really having a whole lot of tax on things that you can buy. So for us, it's not bad. But yeah, so we like that aspect of shopping there. But my family, we always discuss about it. We're like, we never want to live there. So we can't really have both ways. But yeah, you guys would love it in Canada. It's you know, it's great. So I'm very fortunate to live where I live. So
Oh man.
Maybe
Yo,
hopefully
question. I want to ask this
in the
sooner.
future you can.
Wait, what?
No, I was gonna say maybe like one day in the future you could come over and fly to New York. You could be on a podcast in person.
well,
It'd be fun.
well,
After growing the plans.
well, it probably will only take me a day, maybe a day and a half to get there. I would drive through. I would have to drive the other way. I could go through. I wouldn't even have to fly if I really didn't want to. I can literally drive up through Niagara Falls, go through that border there, go through Buffalo, and just go to New York that way. I mean, it would take a while, but definitely do that.
Road trip.
Yeah, road trip. Yeah. But
Oh
So you were saying,
yeah.
Keno, what were you saying?
Now I wanted to get like confirmation from an actual Canadian citizen. Like, how has your government been helping you, like during the pandemic?
okay, so I'll quickly touch on that. I don't have a whole lot of time. I got to get ready for my other podcast, but I'll answer that and then we can wrap it up. So with when the whole coronavirus happened, so the government designed this thing where every month, at the beginning, this is how it was working. So every month, if your hours were reduced because of work because of the coronavirus, or you not lost your job, you just got laid off because of it, or for whatever reason, the government gives you $2,000 for every month.
Okay.
Per person. So, I mean, you could have a household of two parents who can't work because of it, and or they get their hours reduced and they get $2,000 to help them out with things that they need, obviously, to live. And now they changed it where I think it's only if you're totally off that you can get that money. But our economy is opening back up, where like with Ontario at least, we're slowly opening up. Like there's more like things like factories are opening back up, like Chrysler and places like that are opening back up, and so there are not as many people using it, and that's kind of how our government's helping us out. Like they're definitely like our government is definitely all on the same page. Like Ontario is on the same page with all the other provinces, and that's the great thing because we're all on the same page. We all know what we need to do. And I'll tell you, like I've been on Facebook where I've commented on things that are going on, and I get into it with some Americans, and they're like, "Oh no, no," and I'm like, "Well, there's a reason why." Like they're like, "Oh, the government's out to control us, and they're out to get us." I'm like, "Oh, shut up," like, and I just, but yeah, that's kind of like what's going on in Canada. That's how they're taking care of us. So
We only got
All right.
one stimulus check. We only gave
And
us
you
one.
might get it. And it's not guaranteed. You might have gotten it.
And
Like
you
that.
might get it. Not everybody. Some people are still waiting for it. It's been like a month later.
yeah, but listen, guys, I gotta get going here, but I just want to thank you guys for coming on to my podcast. It's been nothing but a joy, and I'd be down to coming on your podcast sometime if you're ever wanting me to come on, and we can
definitely
get something rocking.
Definitely don't have you.
Definitely.
Sorry for all the
Sounds good.
technical issues too. Yeah. All right, man.
Well, have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too, guys. Take care.
Be safe.
Peace.
Peace.